if you were not here, I think Dan's the only one that wasn't here. And Ashley.
Who's Ashley?
Caitlin, my name.
Yeah.
My name is not Ashley.
Oh, you're gonna get that lock. I'm not gonna.
Alright, let's see how loud this sounds.
18 years old, was killed by a white police officer in Ferguson.
Just tell me when you want to.
For the first time in decades, national
Just tell me when you want me to
how
apologize.
just our criminal justice system is. Police shooting and prison reform are finally topics of presidential debates. What gets little attention is what we're doing for our youngest citizens, our children. The U.S. locks up more children than any other developed country by far. Not even talking about this. In the documentary about the Chief Prison kids, you'll meet young people's lives were torn apart by the juvenile justice system. Kids who needed help, but instead were locked up. And yet, those fighting every day to turn it around, to stop the criminalization of children. If a society is judged by how it cares for its most vulnerable citizens, are we ready for judgment day?
I hate being misunderstood. It was cool. It was easy.
I'm straight up, like I'm tired of being set.
Y'all was young. I was young then.
Mister, you can't put the volume up for the TV.
It doesn't go any higher here. I'm not sure because usually when we have our meetings, we rarely use this for audio. And there's a few times where we have to pay really close attention to here, so. Maybe just start a dialogue, I guess, would make more sense at this point. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, we had a half hour, so, well, yeah.
Some of you guys saw the video, right? You guys did?
No.
You were here, what did you watch for 3 days? You watched it.
So,
Like a lot of videos.
so I'm Brian Lehman, federal prosecutor here in Hartford. This is Captain Mark Alderucci. Captain Alderucci works for the Department of Corrections. He's also assigned to the FBI Gang and Violent Crime Task Force. This is Brent. He's one of our coordinators for Project Longevity, which is a statewide program that's aimed at trying to reduce violence in our communities, in particular the larger cities like Hartford, New Haven, and Bridgeport. And so we were here, I don't know, when did we come, like a month ago? Or, talked to a group of your classmates about a different video, and we talked a lot, right? We talked a bunch of other stuff too, not just about the video.
Last Chance High, yeah.
About what we do, how it impacts your communities. One of the things that Captain Alderucci can speak a lot more to is the incarceration of large numbers of
I got it.
large numbers of young people. Young people could be people under the age 18, which we consider juveniles or kids, but also younger people, people in their late teens or early 20s. And there's a lot of discussion about whether that's the right thing to do. And the video talked a lot about, is that the best thing to deal with young people who commit crimes? So we're doing a lot of the outreach, going to schools like this and other schools to talk about stuff like that and see sort of what you guys think about it or how you feel about it. Maybe you have family members, you have friends, or you know people that have, have gone to jail, especially as a young person. Yes, Danny.
I've been in and out of Hartford Detention Center almost 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
But so I can jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I watched that video like 2 hours ago and I'm kind of like refreshed my memory. I've been working on the street in Hartford for 5 years, but I did 17 years in the correctional facilities. Northern, which is up in Summers, is the state supermax that looks just like those cells there. And when people commit violations inside the prison, I don't care if you're 18 or if you're 50, assault on staff, or something very violent, or even a very, very high bond, you go up to Northern. For a while, they had the gang program there, then I moved to a different facility, different max facility. But, you know, and watching that, and had a lot of good points about juveniles, and I've changed in 22 years, honestly. When I started, and I'm a young guy, and I'm in a, you know, maximum security prison, and just lock them up and put them behind a cell door, and, you know, when they misbehave in the 23-hour lockdown, you cell extract them with a team of guys with vests on, helmets, and probably seen videos like that on A&E and whatnot. It's really just like that. And then my view working on the street and working with Project Longevity, working with these guys, and kind of seeing the street level arrests, and as it goes in and then back out, it changed. And what I also learned is we don't get better with, do we lock these guys up, do we put people in jail, do we do juveniles in jail, from people with PhDs, or it's by speaking to people, honestly. And I do believe from the bottom of my heart in the called the caged animal syndrome, because I've had the same guys at Northern level 5 23-hour lockdown that you didn't even open that trap to feed them without a shield, because they would come at you with something or try to grab your arm or try to do something. And then 2 years later, they're in medium security, and hey, what's up, Alderucci? What's going on? And it's like that same person, you just change the environment, and they behave totally different. So, and that's where I was interested in coming and hearing about what you would think about, you know, how your behavior would be should you get locked up and you're in that, you know, that type of facility versus some of the alternative. And if you've seen, you know, the inside and the outside so far already, you probably have opinions on that. You know,
A lot.
yeah. Okay.
It wasn't a bad place, but
Where did you go? Harvard Correctional?
yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty bad in there, though. No?
It's not. It is and it isn't. It's a, you know,
It
pre-sentence.
depends on what
It's
you
in and
do.
out. A lot of guys are kind of not. I think it's almost worse when you get sentenced and guys go, "Damn, I'm going to do 5 years." So now their mentality changes. Kind of, you're in there, you're pre-sentence. If you're Hartford area, you get visits because your family's close by. You know, you might know a lot of people that are in the same block as you, so it's not so bad. And that's where, you know, I laugh
I never
sometimes
knew
with
anybody.
some of these guys that get really into, you know, our faces on the street, and they don't realize that this is the FBI arresting you. You're going to North Dakota for 10 years. You're not getting visits. You want a prison call, it's like $3 a minute. So there's a difference when, you know, when Brian prosecutes a case, these guys go Fed side versus state. So that's, you know, that's where Fed prisons are different also.
The thing is too is, on the federal level, they don't get as many cases as the state courts do. But my assumption or my thinking is that most of the guys that you guys prosecute have a history that extends far into their adolescent years. And so there's a certain trajectory that a young person can be set on. And a lot of that's based upon their exposure to the juvenile justice system and whether or not their chances of recidivating throughout their teenage years and into their early adult years will increase or decrease. And so there's a lot of reforms going on in the state of Connecticut regarding juvenile justice related matters. And one of the things that the documentary touches on this is raising the age of what qualifies someone as a juvenile, and also raising the age of criminal responsibility. So, does anyone know, have an idea as what age or how
I
young?
wasn't making kids as young as 9, 10 years old.
That's right.
So,
Age 7 is the age of criminal responsibility.
Yeah, see, that's crazy to me. In that video that you guys saw, you had a couple like guys being handcuffed, like 8-year-olds. I don't know if you saw that. And that just, you look at that and say, are you kidding me? But I see both sides of it too. You know, a school calls, they got a kid and you're 8 or 9 and maybe he's a little big for his age and he's throwing hair through the window, through the glass. And, you know, these days of restraint, physical restraint, where people die sometimes, or, you know, they're choked out by accident, or, you know, knees on their back. So what do? You're the police officer there, what do? Let the kid keep throwing it through the window? I mean, what would you do as a parent? Would you hold the kid down if that was your kid? So, yeah, I see both sides of it. And I'm not saying there's plenty of good cops, there's plenty of bad cops, there's plenty of good people, plenty of bad people, so I'm right in the middle. So, I mean, that's what shocked me watching that, because, you know, you see it on the news once in a while, but, you know, they kind of brought it up at 7 or 8 years old. I mean, you can even try somebody as an adult now, but, I mean, there's the other ones that I see them in Hartford all the time, 14, 15 years old, the guy's got 2 or 3 possession of a handgun already, popped off rounds at his, in a little rivalry he's got going on in the street, whether it's over a girl or drugs or whatever. So, if you have any brothers or sisters?
All younger.
Okay, so think of your youngest as a boy or girl? Brothers?
Sisters.
Okay, your younger sister gets, and I don't mean to go down this road, but this 14-year-old shooting at his boy, he misses and he kills your little sister.
I'm killing somebody.
Me
Don't
too.
do that.
Me too. Call the cops. Hey, no, me too. But anyway, okay, you want that guy out in a year?
No.
Playing basketball down the street from you? That's kind of what happens right now. Not so much on a murder, but say he shoots and misses. So, and that's the catch-22 there.
Yeah. That's
There's
the other challenge.
But anybody could do that.
A warden
Anybody
pulled me
got
aside
something.
when I was like 23 years old as a new correction officer and said, remember, there's always victims.
Yep.
So you get not too close, but if you get, I could bring a murderer here, a child molester, and someone doing 3 months for possession of, a very small amount of marijuana, I don't know, cocaine or something, and you wouldn't know. But I'm going to sure to tell you, you wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I can have 2-hour conversations with someone that I could go out when I go have a beer with that's a murderer. I had long conversations with guys in jail over the years, so it's not like they're all raving lunatics because they killed somebody. They're people like you and I. So therefore, that person does something, he's 14, 15, you give him a year, come back out, he's probably going to do the same thing if he's put in the exact same environment. And again, the victims, anyway, the warden pulled me aside and said, remember there's victims. So I believe in victims could almost make that decision about what happens.
Yeah.
I can speak to that too, because when I was watching, particularly The Last Chance High, and me and Brent, we were talking about this after, I forgot the individual's name. His father was in jail. Cortez's father was in jail, and you feel the sense of empathy for him. Mm-hmm. And I can just imagine being a CO officer and building these relationships, which you see these people, you go to work every day, you see them day in and day out, and you don't see the victim part of it.
That's where, and we've had disciplinary issues where correction officers get too close to inmates and they might want to bring them something or bring outside food. And as minor as that sound, it can lead to bigger things. So that's why it's really frowned upon. It's, people get suspended or fired for that. But I can see that, because if you don't really have, a lot of guys, these guys are smooth too, some of them. So you sit there and you build a relationship, and I was a brand new CO, I'm in a block with 110 inmates in the dorm, just me. So you're kind of just sitting there, and there's 110 guys, and there's not much to do, so you're sitting there, and the guys are talking to you for 2-3 hours. And you build, little rapport with people, and you can see that. You can see people getting close. But then again, every once in a while, especially when I was promoted a couple times, I access, you start reading the file, and then you go, oh my God, all right? The guy that you're talking to, that you feel like, it wouldn't be a big deal if I brought him, give him one of my sandwiches, and you see what he did on the street, you kind of change your opinion a little bit. So, that's where I think the victim, or knowing what a victim, or at least trying to imagine what a victim would go through before you make that decision.
How about you, Danny? So you've been in HCC. The fact that you've had that experience, does that mean you think you'd be less likely to go back there? In other words, you're like, I've done there, been there, I don't want to go back.
I haven't been back since I was 16.
Okay.
And I'm turning 18 soon, so almost 2 years.
Were you there for a short period of time, or how long were you in there for?
Longest I was in there for was 3 months at a time.
So it's a school of thought which we often operated under, which is, if we send these people to jail, they're going to say, I don't want to ever go back, and that's going to change their behavior. But
It doesn't.
as Captain Alderucci was saying, it doesn't usually work that way. They come back out into the same environment, and they're exposed to the same things that got them in trouble to begin with. And so, especially with younger people, as Brent said, by the time someone comes to me, for years we've done different kinds of outreaches. Sometimes we're going and talking to adults who are on probation or who just got released from prison. And I would tell them, I said, the last thing you want to do is meet me professionally. Because by then, you've done something really bad, or you've accumulated a history that's so bad that we've now decided that you're going to get prosecuted federally. And I would tell them, I said, I'm going to make a determination as to whether you're going to get prosecuted federally based upon 2 things. What you did to get yourself arrested or to get yourself in trouble, and then, what other crimes have you committed? I'm not going to have a sit down and meet with you like Captain Alderucci. You get to meet someone and you sort of understand maybe where they're coming from, but I don't have that luxury. I'm going to make a decision without ever having met you or talk to you or have you explain something to me as to why you did what you did. And I would tell them you don't want that. I mean, I don't want to be in that position, so don't put yourself in that position, because it's not going to be my fault that you're there. It's going to be your fault because you did what you did. It's going to cause you to be, have your file sitting on my desk. So many of the individuals I prosecute have been in the system many times, have served lengthy sentences, have lengthy juvenile delinquency records, and it's just a sort of pattern. And so a lot of the talk now, as Brent was talking about sentencing reform or juvenile justice reform, is sort of what to do. What's the alternative? Like you were given the hypothetical of like there's some beef in the street and an innocent person gets shot. If you're the victim or you know the victim or you see the person who's in your neighborhood that's constantly causing problems and you want that person removed, right, because you're committing criminal activity or committing crimes, so what do we do? What are the choices that we have? If it's not putting him into jail or not putting him into the system, when I first started doing this, the push was to lower the age for prosecution because we were having so many problems with juvenile-related crimes. And one of the things that I'm sure Captain Alderucci can speak to this is one of the most frustrating things that we see is we see the really bad guys in the street, the gang leaders and the gang members, are using juveniles to commit their crimes because they know that the juvenile justice system isn't going to incarcerate them. It's just going to put them in for a little while and then they come back, put them in, and nothing really happens. So what do we do? I mean, we can't have that, right? We can't have a gang leader who's 21 years old say, give it to a 16-year-old wannabe and say, yeah, I need you to go do this shooting for me. And he convinces them to do it because nothing's going to happen to you. Even if they catch you, nothing's going to happen to you. So how do we resolve that? Because now we have a victim, right? Now we have a community that lives in fear because of often gang-related shootings that are happening in their neighborhood that they need to stop, but the people they know that are doing it are on the street in 2 weeks after the incident or the next day.
Another thing too is that if you guys can remember from the documentary, some of the statistics that were cited was that in some of the detention centers, some of these kids, they had 99% had mental health issues, some of them had 92% mental health issues. And some of it's related to things, they were born that way with some sort of cognitive delay. And in other cases, some of the stuff that we see here in Connecticut is that they've been exposed to intense trauma at an early age. And so that affects their emotional state, how they respond to violence. In the previous video, there was a kid named Spanky who actually set his couch on fire, and his two sisters were burning on the couch. And he sat there and he just watched it with no emotion. And he was determined to have a psychosis. Not necessarily that particular situation, but situations that hit the brain in such a way that a child develops an emotional or mental disorder that reduces their sensitivity to violence occurs. In Project Longevity, we've had guys who have actually gone federal and had their cases prosecuted on the federal level. And in learning more about their history, there's this one young man who at 5 years old, his mother, again 2 years later, his father is incarcerated, his brother is incarcerated. So at a very early age, he was being exposed to things that affected the way that he thinks, right? That affect the way that he views life and consequences. And so the goal, or at least one of the goals in the juvenile justice system, is to try to treat these kids either through medication, psychotropic medication. And if you guys recall from the documentary, a lot of these kids were under intense, and in some cases, antiquated medications. I worked in a high school for over a year and with students who were under medication. Some of them were using drugs like lithium, which is a really old drug, and it taxes the body, especially the liver. You have to get a lot of blood work done. And I've seen these kids come in, and once their drug is administered to them, they're pretty much done for the day. They're unresponsive, they're shaking, they can't focus. And I used to be really concerned about that. you know, this kid, Darius, he's a really nice kid. Every morning I talk to him at breakfast, we have a great conversation. Why is he on these meds? And then I saw him without the medication. And I seen him punch a wall and break 3 of his knuckles because somebody called him gay. He got that upset that quickly. And so I'm sort of stuck in the middle regarding what the right solutions are, while also acknowledging that there is a reality as far as mental health is concerned, and what the appropriate remedies are, responses, you know, because most of the time when these kids are medicated, it's pretty much a life sentence, something that they're going to be taken for the rest of their lives in order to allow them to function in society. I don't know if you guys know anybody who's on psychotropic medications, or what your thoughts are, and whether or not you feel that it's something that's effective in treating youth who are troubled and who are prone to violence.
Kids are awfully quiet over there. You just have an opinion about something. What do you think? Do you think people who commit crimes at 16, 15, 14, should they go to jail?
Or does it
It
depend on
depends.
I know this girl that she killed her baby. She threw her baby in the garbage. It was in
That was up the
Collins
street.
Street.
Where is it?
That's up the
It
street
was
from my
here in East
house.
Hartford.
No, it wasn't.
We was really close friends. She was gonna graduate, or she graduated, and then a month later she did it.
What do you think?
That was in August.
Did you think she had some kind of obviously mental
I
health
don't know. I think
issues,
she was
or
going
just-
through a lot.
Yeah.
So
See, and I'm a believer in, and everybody has a different background and upbringing, and you know, I actually went to this elementary school. It's weird to pull up here, and then my family moved to Glastonbury. So I
I was in
don't.
this school.
Yeah, this school, Stevens School. I'm only 22, so it's only so. Anyway, everybody has a different background. When we talk about people being sensitized, whatever. If you grow up on Mather Street, Garden Street in Hartford, and there's shootings probably weekly in your block somewhere. Police are coming to the scene. Some are nice, some are not nice. Let's just be honest, you know, some cops aren't as friendly as others. You're seeing that as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. The mom is just, and excuse my language, I see people walking across the street and they're getting into arguments and they got their one hand on their kid and then, fuck you, motherfucker, that's you're exposed to the whole time you're growing up. You're not in the best housing condition. You're probably not getting worked with homework and stuff like I work with my kids. So you know what do you expect? Do you expect that the system is going to fix that kid when there's some lashing out at age 12, 13, or 14? It's got to start in the home. I think everybody would agree at that. At least one type of a role model, whether it's mother or father or grandmother or grandfather, somebody. You know, it doesn't have to be a blood relative. It's whoever is your guardian. If it's a strong person, it starts there. And then, you know, what do you do with that kid that's 14, 15, that you kind of know there's really not, it was going to happen. I could probably pluck out 7, 8, 9-year-olds in certain areas that are exposed to certain things and know that there's going to be law enforcement interaction even at like age 13 or 14. But I want to catch them young. That's what I think where you really have to grab the kids that are at risk and their first you know, interaction with law enforcement. What do? Not lock them up. That's what kind of the focus of this thing is. I don't think anybody agrees it's right to lock them up because then it just starts that door back and forth. That becomes the normalcy, and that's not what we want. So, you know, you can reflect on people you know, maybe your own experiences, some things that, and you might, if you grow up in that environment, you don't think that's anything wrong. Because what are you comparing it to? You know, your friends, your neighbors, it's all the same. So that's normal to you. That's not normal to probably 90% of the other kids in this country to grow up like that. So it's not fair to those kids, but yet that's the hand you've been dealt with. So what do you do? And we need to know, what do we do when you get to that age and you have your first interaction, you're on the corner and you get cops jump out on you and I don't know, maybe you're smoking weed and it's a minor thing and, you know, I don't know, there's something else they lock you up for briefly or they hold you for a couple days. You know, is that where you then target and try to get some programs going with these young kids before it turns into a shooting or whatnot? You know, she started to say that, you know, it depends. Well, it needs to do lock these kids up. It depends on for what. I agree. I mean, if it was my personal decision, it'd probably be 30% of the inmates in Connecticut would probably be out on a community release because I don't really care about some low-level drug stuff. And I think the states are already going that route anyway, but you can't just put a number on it. If you're 19, if you're 18, you're 16, you're 15, you're not gonna go to jail. I mean, it depends on what they're doing.
So is it the same, right? So one of the things that have come up in different conversations in Hartford regarding public policy that affects juveniles is how do we categorize or classify or designate something as a crime? So if I have a 9-year-old who hits another 9-year-old with a chair, is that assault? But if Ryan hits me with the chair, it's clearly assault, right?
A 9-year-old hits another 9-year-old with a chair and maybe cuts that person. You gotta remember now, you got mom over here and mom over here want justice, you know, so calling the police, calling the administrators, you know, it's in school, say it happens in school, you know, how do you deal with that? Police can't say it's a school problem, you know.
Like
I mean,
what happened
that's
before he
kind
got
of
hit with the
difficult.
chair, before he decided to hit.
Yeah,
I think the
that's
days are over where you would hope the
Tough
families would work that out
questions.
together.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I
that is
just
a
think
school
that's the way
problem.
things are now.
Yeah.
Well, I got something similar like that. Actually slammed a girl
Oh God.
across the wall in Puerto Rico.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was
How old were you?
I was like 10.
Did you get in trouble for it?
No.
Did they call like police or authorities or anything? Or?
No, 2 years, well, 1 year after, she actually scratched my face. Like,
Yeah.
she actually made some crazy stuff in my face. But she scratched me really bad. I was bleeding like crazy. But they actually didn't do nothing. Like,
In
they don't
Puerto
do
Rico?
nothing. Yeah.
Is it different down there? The way they
Actually,
deal
yeah.
with stuff?
The principal was my aunt. So,
Well,
it was, yeah, nothing happened.
I want me to say that happens here right now. What happens in this school? It's just
Listen,
A lot of
I get
people that,
started with this school.
a lot of people that talk.
But I'm saying, say there's a fight and the kid hits another kid and there's some injury.
It's
Do
done.
you call police?
It's done after like 10
no.
seconds.
No.
Usually don't.
Okay.
Depends
I'm not saying you
on
should.
The situation.
Yeah,
Like,
And
You think if that
it
happens
depends
in
on also
Glastonbury
who
High
it
School,
is.
They call the police?
hell yeah.
Like, guys, real
What do you
quick.
think the Glastonbury police would do?
Cause that's
What do
Glastonbury.
you think mom and dad would do?
My
They
mom.
want the kid arrested, they want to probably sue the family.
Sue.
Okay, you see the difference? What, a mile, 2 miles away? That's some of the personal issues, I speak my mind too much, but between like Hartford Court and you get arrested at Glastonbury, I'm using that as an example. You go to Manchester Court, you might get a harsher sentence in Manchester Court than you would in Hartford Court for the same exact thing, position of a handgun. So, are we then taking this?
I think it depends where you at. Depends.
It does, but is that fair?
No.
Okay,
Because they should actually decide the same thing.
right.
So, well, do you think if there's a fight in this school, do you think the police should come?
Depends how bad it is.
Yeah,
And there's
like-
it's in the one-on-one. If a teacher could like break it up.
Yeah, like every situation, like depends, like on what
Yeah,
happens
like so much
for the
happens
consequence.
Here, like you can't just call the police every time something happens.
And the
So
police
sometimes
just, the
we-
police
No,
just
I don't
gonna
think police should be the answer.
keep.
to
Yeah,
all
the
that.
police
Also,
just gonna
you
keep coming
Yeah.
here. So
I think everybody that goes to this school is just so used to it happening. They're just like, oh,
It's strange. I mean, if I brought my Hartford Police radio here and turned it on for you and you listen to it for a couple of days, even in the worst areas, you get 9-year-old out of control at home. They call the police. I mean, Hartford cops see some stuff in their careers. You know, you don't want to go deal with someone's 9-year-old kid. If mom's calling, they happens almost daily, honestly.
I've had my family call the police on me for some stupid.
Are they trying to do that to help you because they're going to try to think they're going to scare you into not doing it again? I mean, I
They
think,
tried to, but
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
I think it's almost like throwing your hands up. I have no control. Can somebody help me? Let's call the police.
Right.
The only thing I did was as soon as they showed up, I was like, okay, bye. I'm walking out. What are you guys gonna do? I didn't do anything wrong. Why you call the police?
So how do you think that sort of,
I lost a lot of respect from my family because of that. I lost a lot of respect.
Did they just try to work with you like many times before, like similar things, and then they just had, threw their hands up, or do you think they just?
After a while, they just didn't care.
and so do you feel some sense of stigma? So a lot of the guys, I deal with a lot of adults, and pretty much most of them have been incarcerated. And one of the things that they're challenged with is the stigma of having been arrested or having been incarcerated. And there's like a very real issue in terms of getting jobs and stuff like that and access to opportunities. but there's also their self-perception, how they see themselves as someone who's sort of now marginalized by society. Some of the things that they talked about in the documentary is that these kids sort of take on that identity, right? They start to feel a certain way about themselves after having gone through the system, and they either own it or they disown it. What are your thoughts on
that? After being in there long enough, it's just you. You just don't even think about it.
But do you think, is that who you are now? Do you think of yourself like...
It's like, it depends on what kind of situation it is. The mine, it was like, I got arrested 4 or 5 times. Boom.
So you said it's been a couple years since the last time you were in, so something changed with you? I mean, you said you're going to be 18 soon, you're going to be out of here soon?
Well, for one, my parents, or my family disowned me. So, I'm in DCF.
Okay.
It finally clicked that I need to pass high school, and I need to set up my future until, like, if I didn't realize that I needed to finish high school, I need to save money, I need to do this, I need to do that, I wouldn't be here right now. I would probably be out doing the same thing I was before.
But the rest of you guys have plans after you get out of here?
Yeah.
Where are they?
I'm trying to move.
College move.
He's gonna move to
Same thing
Glasgow.
as, I mean, I know the story. I'm not like trying to promote the town, I'm just using that as an example. But, I mean, honestly, yeah, probably wouldn't be an answer I'd get if we were talking to Glassman kids. Move. So what's move? Is that accomplishing something?
I'm trying to move to Italy. I'm
I
trying
like
to
that.
travel. I don't know.
I like that.
Travel is different than moving.
But I actually want to
I'm
move
going
to
on
Italy.
vacation, we all want to go on vacation.
No,
No, I don't need
I do
vacation.
want
I
to.
wanna-
expensive.
I mean, are you trying to, why do you want to just drive?
I want to do culinary school.
Anywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
I like
You can
that.
do that
In
here.
Italy.
Yeah.
Italy has some.
Chico.
I want to go out there just for the food.
There you go.
But I mean, like, that's a good goal at culinary school. And, you know, I have a lot of friends in the restaurant business in the Hartford area, and we also, when I was at Corrigan Radgowski, they have a culinary arts program for inmates, and the chef, the instructor chef would set these guys up with jobs. A lot of them, because it was up by the casino, would get jobs right in the casino. And he had a direct line. So now it was probably the most successful program to train an inmate to do something productive, because you know what? McDonald's isn't going to do anything for you. And I think everybody realizes that. And it's a start, but I have a hard time when I hear people with shirts and ties on preaching to whether they're young people or older inmates that, you know, go to work 40 hours at McDonald's when they can, you know, sling some heroin and make 3 times that. And that's part of their culture, and it's not that abnormal for them to do that. And it's just not, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's the right thing to do is to work the 40 hours at McDonald's, but it's not going to get you out of your neighborhood. It's not going to get you to Italy. It's not going to get you to move very far.
Yeah.
So, you know what, anyway, this culinary arts program trained these guys and then gave them good jobs. You know, they're like sous chefs, and then they can move up a couple notches, and before you know it, you could be in a very well-paid position. So, you know, that's it. But the thing is, should the state have to do all this stuff? I mean,
That's the question.
yeah.
I got another place too.
I wish they had
I'm
stuff
trying
like
to
that.
There's all kinds of stories.
No, I'm
We
trying
got
to move to the
nothing to
United
do there
Kingdom
but
too.
sit, watch TV,
Yeah.
play basketball for an hour, maybe.
It's so class.
Maybe
It's
an
like
hour.
I don't even know.
You can.
What do you want to do after college?
Stupid.
So you want to go to college?
I want to go to college to be a pediatrician.
Okay, good.
A lot of what we see is people that keep coming in and out of the system, they, as Brent was talking about, that you let that sort of define who you are. And so there's this, the hope, or you know, you have dreams, right? You're supposed to have dreams at your age.